How's it going, everyone? Let me just post this a couple different places and we will jump in to see what is going on. All right. I mean, it's that time, right? It's the time Bitcoin's above the 20 week. You guys know what Bitcoin being above the 20 week means if you follow the channel for long enough. What happens when we're in the sandbox? Whole lot of nothing, right? Not a whole lot. When we're out of the sandbox, the market really starts to come alive, especially for altcoins. Um, so now the question is, the question is, can Bitcoin hold it? Okay, and that's the question, right? That is the question because if it can hold it, it's smooth sailing, right? If it can hold it, it's smooth sailing from here for a while. If not, then we're going to get chopped up a little bit more, especially altcoins. But I will say this, it does remind you a little bit of prior moves above the 20 week because you really never know. Anytime you go above the 20 week, you never know if it's going to hold or not. And obviously, hindsight will elucidate the truth. And obviously, this move here, back in April of 2020, we went above it, and then we went sideways for like 3 months or 2 months. I know you guys remember that phase, right? And that phase, if you remember, was a DeFi summer, actually. And I mean, a lot of coins did really well back then, back in the summer of 2020. But that was a really crazy time in the market. Now, if you were to go look at the prices back then, you might look at it and kind of put your nose up and say, who's getting out of bed for, a 10-cent ADA or a few $100 ether. But back then it was a lot. Back then it was a lot because we had just been watching ADA set at 2 to 3 cents, 2 to 4 cents for so long. To then see it go to 10 cents again, it was crazy. To watch Ethereum go back to $300 to $400, it was great. And it's all relative, right? It's all relative. So today, when you look at the prices, there's going to be someone in the future that looks back at these prices and they'll probably stick their nose up at them as well. But it's all relative. Remember that a lot of money was made over here, even when the prices were a lot lower. So even in the same way, if we end up holding this as support, okay, if we end up holding the 20 week and the 20 week sort of curves back around like this, even if we don't immediately go up, if we go sideways above the 20 week, there's still a lot of money to be made in the altcoin market. So remember, the key thing with altcoins, right? What's the key thing to remember with altcoins? What do you want? It's a pretty simple recipe for altcoins. The main two things that you want well, there's a lot of things really, but the main two things are you want Bitcoin above the 20-week moving average, right? We all know that. We're not rookies here. We've been around the block, so to speak. So we're above the 20 week. So we say, all right, check. We're above the 20 week. The other thing is we like Bitcoin to not be going parabolic. You guys remember what happened over here. This was a Bitcoin party. And I mean, it was essentially nothing but Bitcoin until we got to this point. And then it started to shift over. It really started to change around here. Bitcoin continued to take the reins for a little while, and then up here, it definitely changed, all right? So in the same way, we look at the market today and say, well, the party that is coming, or if there is a party, will be highly dependent on what Bitcoin does. Because remember, Bitcoin does not have to go parabolic for altcoins to put in nice gains. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And also, you have to remember that with altcoins, it's all relative, right? I mean, everything's relative. If you buy a coin at $10 and it goes to $20, it's the same as if you buy it at 20 and it goes to 40. If you're looking for like a 2x or something. So what I would say, I would say with the altcoin market, the most important thing that you need to watch like a hawk for the next several weeks is, can Bitcoin hold the line? Okay, we prepared for it for months. We said, you know what? We need 3 to 6 months of a summer lull, right? 3 to 6 months. Obviously, we're on the lower bound of it at the moment. We said 3 to 6 months of a summer lull, and then let's see if we can get back on track. Now the question is, we're sort of on track, but we still need to hold the 20-week. And that's an important last step. Okay, it's an important last step. The other, another thing that sort of just comes with that is a golden cross. Okay, so let's go take a look at that because it is something that we will want to keep our eyes on. We'll talk about it now so that when it comes up later, you're not like, oh, what's this? Like, you're just springing this on me now. No. So the nice thing about a death cross is that after you have one, you can't have another death cross without first having a golden cross. And a golden cross is when the 50-day goes above the 200-day moving average. Right now, they're still relatively far apart. The 50 days all the way at 36,135, the 200 days at 45K. But that is what we would be looking forward to. So whether we get a golden cross will be very much dependent on if Bitcoin can just hang out at these levels, okay? Because if it can, then the 50-day is going to sort of scoot back up and then cross the 200-day. And that would actually be, that'd be a golden cross, right? That'd be a golden cross. That's when you're saying, okay, well, a short-term momentum is strong enough to overtake the average price of the last 200 days, and therefore it's the golden cross. Remember, there's a lot of necessary but not sufficient conditions for a bull run. You need a 20-week SMA to be above, you need to be above the 20-week SMA, you need a 20-week SMA to hold a support, and you need a golden cross. I mean, obviously, a golden cross is just a derivative of the price moving up, right? If the price moves up, you're going to have a golden cross. So the main thing, if you're wondering, how do you manage your risk because altcoins are popping and whatnot, just remember, as long as Bitcoin's above the 20-week, altcoins can still do well, okay? Now, here's where it gets tricky. We haven't yet had a weekly close above the 20-week, right? We haven't. But with that said, right now, Bitcoin is hanging out between 45, 46K. And if it continues to do that for, a few weeks, then we know altcoins can do well during that phase. So ultimately speaking, it basically just depends on how much risk you're willing to take on. If you want to take the risk on Bitcoin staying above the 20-week or not, that's the risk you're taking with altcoins. And as long as you accept that risk, then here we are. I still have a ton of my altcoin positions that I never sold back in. I sold part of them, right? But I didn't sell all of them. So I think now is we have to take a look around and we see a lot of altcoins popping. ADA is doing relatively well. And, there's obviously talk about the smart contract stuff, but again, there's been talk about that for years. But regardless, ADA is putting in some fairly decent gains right now. And if Bitcoin holds the 20-week, the path of least resistance would be up, right? It would be up. Because the thesis that we've always stuck to, no matter what, is that when Bitcoin's above the 20-week and it's moving sideways, not going parabolic, that's the recipe, right? It's the altcoin recipe. So right now we're just above the 20-week. We have a little bit, obviously we still want to test it and whatnot to be a little bit more confident, but that's where we currently are. If you remember back when Bitcoin was over here and altcoins were flying, in this phase, we were so far above the 20-week that it didn't really matter. And if you guys remember what I told you, I kept saying, hey guys, we can have a drop and altcoins will have a knee-jerk reaction if Bitcoin drops, right? We said altcoins will have a knee-jerk reaction if Bitcoin drops, but as long as it's above the 20-week, they'll recover, they'll go to new all-time highs. And we saw that play out for months. This sort of the same thing, but there are some differences right now. There are some slight nuances. Right now, we don't have quite as much wiggle room. Okay, there's not quite as much wiggle room in like say a drop, right? So like if Bitcoin drops 10%, it's below the 20-week, and then altcoins they can start to look weak again. So you know when you're thinking about up here, you had a lot more wiggle room with the Bitcoin drop with respect to the altcoin Bitcoin valuations. When you're here, when you're just a few percentage points above it, you don't have nearly as much wiggle room. So you have to remember there's that fine line between altcoins doing well against Bitcoin and altcoins not doing well against Bitcoin. Okay, because if you go to the Bitcoin chart, the dominance has generally been increasing for a little while now. But you know, obviously, right now we're moving back down some. But I mean, I think this is the the thing to watch is we've been slowly moving up on the Bitcoin dominance. Is it going to turn over here? And I think the main way it could turn over would be if Bitcoin stays above the 20-week and doesn't go to a new all-time high, right? If it stays above the 20-week but does not go to a new all-time high, then you might see the dominance come back down. If Bitcoin drops below the 20-week, then you will more likely see the dominance continue to go up. So let's go take a look at ADA, because there's some interesting stuff we could look at. And I think maybe one of the ways we should look at it would be to look at actually the Ethereum. Okay, so there are some similarities in the chart, right? There are some similarities here. So if you look at the Ethereum chart, and we noticed this first drop, right? We had this first drop, and then we came back up, sort of like a dead cat, if you will, and then back down. And we sort of found this sort of bottom down here, and then we've taken out these prior local tops on the dead cat that we saw in May and in June. Okay, we've gone above those. Now, the only reason I'm bringing that up is because we just want to go look at Cardano, and we want to see, well, what is Cardano doing? Where is ADA in all of this? If you go look at ADA, you can see some similarities. Okay, let's look at these similarities. So one of the similarities is, all right, it basically also put in this sort of triple bottom over here, similar to what we saw with Ethereum, right? It's somewhat similar. You had the first wick, you had this one here, and then you had this one here. Okay, so somewhat similar to Ethereum. And like Ethereum, ADA also had a dead cat in May and June, and they were essentially the same. Okay? Now, the main difference so far that I can see, the main difference is that if you go look at, these levels here, ADA would still need to move up by a very modest, and I mean modest, 10.5%. Okay, so for ADA to get back to sort of the dead cat local top of late May and early June, it would need to go up about 10% or so. Ethereum has already done that, and it's already gone above that. Okay, so if you go look at Ethereum, it's already gone above that level by about 10%. Okay, now if you take a measured move from Ethereum's top down to the bottom of the wick, it was about a 60% drop. And if you go look at ADA, from the top down to the bottom of the wick, it was about a 63% drop. This makes sense, right? You would expect an altcoin to likely bleed a little bit more than Ethereum, and you would expect Ethereum to bleed a little bit more than Bitcoin. And that's exactly what you saw happen, right? I mean, Bitcoin bled 55%, Ethereum bled 60%, ADA bled 63%. Okay, so that makes sense, because when Bitcoin drops, we would expect Ethereum to drop more, and then we would expect altcoins, to drop even more. And so with that in mind, that makes sense. Now, I think the one thing to keep an eye on, though, is that, again, Ethereum has already made this move above the the dead cat area from May 26th and June 4th. ADA has not made that move yet. Okay, I mean, it's in the process of potentially making it, but to get there, it would actually need to go to $1.88 or so just to get back there. But it also, remember, Ethereum's about 10% higher than that level now. A 10% move from there would actually put ADA just over $2. So we'll see what happens with ADA. It could be a rally into the release of smart contracts. I don't really know, but we will certainly follow it and see. Remember, a lot of the rallies by these altcoins will of course be contingent on Bitcoin holding the 20-week simple moving average. Now, if you're not sure where the 20-week is because you still don't know how to pull up TradingView, it is at $43,323. The reason I say that is because a lot of people ask me like, well, what is it? And I think we sort of take for granted that everyone uses TradingView. They don't, so I'm going to read them all. The 20-week SMA now is at 43,322 or 43,323. It's sort of like varying a little bit. 43.3K. The 21-week EMA is at 40.4K. Okay, so ideally we would hold the 20-week, and if we hold that, then yeah, I mean it's just great for altcoins, right? It's great for altcoins. If we don't hold it, then buckle up, right? You need to start clenching, because then the market, the market dynamics can change again. So that's the difference in the market. That's the dynamics of the market when you're up here chilling well above the 20-week. You can afford you can afford say 10% drops, 20% drops in the price of Bitcoin because it still doesn't get you to the 20-week. When you're here, you can't afford it quite as much. So you're tinkering with that line of okay, are we there? Are we not? Which is similar to other moves that we've seen, right? I mean, similar to this move here, and then we held it. We held it here. We didn't hold it here. Okay, so again, sometimes we hold it, sometimes we don't. If we hold it, I mean, it's just off to the races, right? And that's why back in 2020, back in September and October, we did like a live stream every Sunday night. Do you guys remember that? Where we said, hold the line, like hold the damn line. Don't let Bitcoin go below the line, because if it does, if it comes back down here, then we have to kick the can down the road, and we don't really like kicking the can down the road. So again, at some point, that's what you would like to see, more weeks above the 20-week, and every additional week is a good thing. Now, what happens when you don't hold it? Because I feel like that's a decent question to ask, or not that one. What happens if we just go straight up, right? What happens if we don't actually come back down and hold it? That's a possibility too. And we saw that play out in 2019. What happened in 2019 though? Do you guys remember? Does anyone remember back in 2019 what happened during that rally by Bitcoin? Bitcoin, the dominance let's go look at it. Okay, so March through July. Okay, so let's go look at March through July of 2019. Okay, and we will show you. Don't take my word for it. You gotta look at the chart. So March to July, the dominance of Bitcoin went up quite significantly back then. Okay, and that's what happened when it didn't test the 20-week at all. And actually, the altcoin market, it never really had it didn't really have nearly as crazy of a move as you might expect. Okay, because what happened? And I'm sure some of you guys remember. I know there's a lot of new people in the space, but I'm sure there's some of you that remember 2019. What happened over here is that, Bitcoin went crazy, and some altcoins did okay. Some of them did, and some of them put in fairly decent moves, but none of them were really going to crazy insane valuations like we saw at the end of 2020 and early 2021, right? It was a completely different. By the way, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Let's go for 1,000 likes. So what I would say here is if you don't test it, it makes it, I guess it's a little bit more reason to be cautious, right? Because if you don't test it, we didn't actually hold it when we came back down later. So ideally, you'd like to test it without going too far above it, because you're more likely to hold it, right? You're more likely to hold it. It's sort of like back in 2016, 2017. As long as you don't go too far above it, you're more likely to hold it, right? The main danger with the 20-week, I think, in my opinion, comes from when you don't really test it, or you just go a really long time without testing it. And then by the time you come back down to it, it's sort of like you're too far gone, and the market is just going to dump below it, right? So that's what happened here. And then here we came down and tested it, but we never came back down again to test it until over half a year later. And then half a year later, what happened? We didn't hold it as support. So now I think if it does test it as support and holds it, and holds it, then again, it's time to get on the metaphorical laser eyes, because then you're looking at not only is Bitcoin recovered, but it's holding the 20-week. If it doesn't, if it just goes up with not testing it, and the longer it does that, the more likely it is to probably break it whenever it comes back down. So that's sort of what we're looking at. That's what the data implies, anyways. Remember, again, the 20-week SMA, we still really have not technically had a weekly close above it, because at the end of last week, on some exchanges it was above it, on some exchanges it was below it, and so it was more or less a tie. We opened it above it this week, but that's just because the 20-week dropped by about $600. So again, the 20-week SMA is $2,000 lower than the current price. Okay, it's $2,000 lower than the current price. So it's still technically possible that we go to the 20-week before the week is over. Okay, and if we do, then you want Bitcoin to hold the line there in order to see altcoins continue to do okay. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So the magic number to keep in mind is 43.3K to hold the line at the 20-week, and that would ideally that would be where the Bitcoin bulls would want to hold the line, so that the real party can begin. By the way, we do have a pretty long interview coming up. We'll probably drop it tomorrow at this point with Plan B. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be discussing stock to flow cross asset, lengthening cycles, diminishing returns, similarities and differences between all those different models, and sort of where we see the market cycle headed. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video, because it is a pretty interesting one, to say the least, and it's about an hour and a half long. So I think you guys will like it. Yeah, someone says Bitcoin needs to hold the 200-day. It's an important level as well. Okay, we'll go look at it. I agree. The 200 days. I actually know a lot of people who, they know the 20-week, right? And I think they like it. But there's some people that only look at the 200-day. Like, I know a few people that just say that above it bull market, below it bear market, and with the 200-day, not the 20-week, the 200-day. So they take a similar approach, but it's the 200-day instead. Right now we're above it, but just barely. The 200-day is at 45,114. Okay, 45,114. We're at 45,395. So there's a fine line here, and again, these are very testy waters right now. Very testy waters, and you can see what's happening. People are already getting excited because we're above the 20-week, we're above the 200-day, and why shouldn't they? Because if it holds it, they're right, and the altcoin market goes up. So you're already sort of seeing that sentiment come back. So just be on the lookout for Bitcoin. Watch it as much as you can to figure out, is it going to hold it or is it not? That should give you some direction, at least on the health of the altcoin market. So what questions? I'm just reading some of the comments. All right, what questions do you guys have? I'm curious. Also, remember, we do have a Telegram group with over 45,000 people. I will post it here in the chat in case you guys want to go check it out. And you guys can keep the party going. And I'm actually somewhat active in there. I try to be active in there, recently about once a day. A lot of times around closing time, because it's an exciting time to there's a lot of volatility around closing time. So go check it out, the Telegram channel. Remember, I will not message you first, and I don't say that to be mean. I'm just saying that I will not message you first. So when a scammer messages you pretending to be me, it's not me, okay? So remember that. Will I ever make a link video? I really should make a link video. It's probably it probably should be considered a crime that I haven't made a link video in so long. Bitcoin's above the 20-week, and it's August. Last August, Link did really well when Bitcoin was above the 20-week. So I think that I'm sort of excited about Link at the moment. Like, I mean, like I have my position, and I'm sort of like waiting, and I'm like, all right, is it actually going to take off, or what? You know, like is Bitcoin just going to come back down, and we're going to kick the can down the road? So I do have my Link position, and you know, if the pump comes, then you run with it, right? You run with it. And if it doesn't, then you know, you kick the can down the road. I do think Link will do relatively well. I am probably gonna, in the next couple of weeks, I'm planning on. Do you guys remember the "What is Ethereum" video that I put out, where I went through a lot of the fundamentals of Ethereum? I think in the next couple of weeks we're gonna put out a video called "What is Chainlink?" Okay, because I think a lot of people might not understand what it is. So look out for that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But I'll probably put out a price analysis on Link before then. So just know that is likely coming. Yeah, in the future, if you ever hear me say, "Hey guys, it's time for me to get a new desk," then you probably know the cycle top is in, right? You probably know the cycle top is in. Because at that point, I've decided that the opportunity cost on holding the Sats isn't quite as high, that I can afford to go get a new desk. So if I ever say that on a live stream or whatnot, decode the message, I guess. Al Klein says, "Do those of us holding ADA have permission to get out of bed?" No, no. You get back in bed. We're not. I mean, we're still at 170, right? I mean, I think the ideal. I mean, for me, if I'm being completely honest with ADA, my ideal exit is probably going to be around. It's kind of funny to say like two figures, right? It's probably going to be around two figures, and yeah, so no, I mean, I don't think it's worth getting out of bed for $1.78. I don't know when we're going to get there. Probably not this year. Maybe next year. If not next year, maybe early 2023. But I think we will make it there. So, that's sort of what I'm looking at. So, no, I mean, I don't really think there's any reason to get out of bed for $1.71 ADA. Certainly not. I mean, we made it to what, 250 back in April or May. So, no. Heather says IKEA's at the door, new desk delivery. I prefer the cardboard. Did I basically treat Ethereum like another altcoin? No, I don't really consider Ethereum an altcoin. When I say altcoin, I don't mean Ethereum. I think Ethereum is with respect to, I mean, if not including Bitcoin, I would say Ethereum's in a league of its own. So no, I don't include Ethereum when I mention the word altcoin, unless I specifically add Ethereum to that definition. No, I don't mean Ethereum when I say altcoins. Will Ethereum flip Bitcoin one day? I'll say this. I'll say this. This is not a popular theory by any means. I think it's. I don't think Ethereum will flip Bitcoin in 2021, and I doubt it'll flip Bitcoin in 2022. Maybe 2023. I will say this. I think it's more likely Ethereum flips Bitcoin than an altcoin flips Ethereum. I don't know. I mean, that's not a popular theory by any stretch of the imagination, especially if you're, one of those, if you're super, super heavily invested in some of the altcoins, which I mean, I am, but I have more Bitcoin and Ethereum than the altcoins. But I would say with altcoins, I really don't see them overtaking Ethereum. I mean, I could be wrong, right? I've been wrong about things in the past, but We'll see. I feel like it's more likely that Ethereum takes over Bitcoin than an altcoin takes over Ethereum, to be completely honest. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't understand Ethereum. I think a lot of people assume that it's outdated because the fees are high. No, again, the fees are high because people use it, and they just haven't they haven't quite employed an acceptable solution to lowering the fees. I mean, if they wanted to lower the fees, they could just increase the block limit, right? I mean, it's not rocket science. You just increase the block limit. They don't want to do that. They don't want to sacrifice decentralization. So you buy Ethereum, you're buying a project that is, I mean, for ultimately being proof of stake, it's going to be about as decentralized as they can be. The other ones are not quite as decentralized. That's just a fact. So I would say though, Cardano comes after Ethereum in terms of decentralization. That's one of the reasons I like Cardano, and ADA is doing relatively well. I mean, we're at a buck 71. I'm pretty excited about seeing where ADA takes us this cycle. Thoughts on betting the family farm? I wouldn't bet the family farm, no. Do I think we're gonna wait 3 months to the final bull cycle? Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by bull cycle. Like, what do you mean? Like, what does it have to get to, I guess, for you to consider it a bull cycle? Yeah, I know what Cardano is. I've been buying it since it was 2 cents. I'm fully aware of what it is. I it was my primary hedge against Ethereum for the last several years. So yeah, I do know what it is. Let's go look at the logarithmic regression. Why not? Why not? All right, let me flip this over. Index. Actually, you know what? The corridor, it actually held up pretty well. I'm actually pleasantly surprised because I didn't think it was going to hold up that well, but it did. It held up relatively well. So we'll see. We'll see where it ultimately goes. But we had several tests on it, and we never. I mean, we had wicks below it, but we more or less had daily closes above it. So I think it did really relatively well, considering how dubious of a fit it was. Um, so if you're curious, the upper bound up here, it's actually going down right now. So the upper bound is going down at the moment, but it is at 109,000. So it's currently going down though again, but it's at 109K, the upper bound. Will I be selling any Bitcoin, Ethereum, and ADA at the end of the cycle? Of course. In 5 years from now, Polkadot or Cardano or both. I would say both, because you're buying very different projects, right? You're buying very very different projects from one another. I mean, I'm not going to go to the fundamentals here. I went through my thoughts on the premium list again. You can find a link to that in the description below. But I feel like they're both decent projects. Oh yeah, let's put on the regression band. So here it is. So essentially, we're assuming that the bands act as bounds for the price of Bitcoin. And, I mean, it's always possible that the model gets broken one day. But for now, it says that the price of Bitcoin today, if it wanted to, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's going to, right? But the upper bound on the regression line is now at a very modest and humble $102,000, almost $103,000, okay? So the upper bound is now at $103,000, and it's moving up every single day. So I mean, if we end up seeing sort of a similar move as say 2013, and we go back up, by the time we get there, depending on when it is, if it's sooner, it would be closer to maybe like 110K. If it takes longer, and we sort of like extend this out, right? So if we like extend this out, it's just going to get higher and higher and higher. I mean, it's hard to draw it exactly how it's going to go, but something like that. So I would say, if it goes up sooner, right, it probably gets capped closer to 100K. If it goes up something like that, then maybe it goes up to 150K. If it takes longer than that, maybe it goes up to 175K or something. So I think it ultimately just depends on how long it's. I remember the longer we spend, the higher it should theoretically go. That's the thesis, right? Now that's why we said the longer we spend in our sandbox, the higher we should ultimately fly. So the question now is, are we decisively out of the sandbox? Meaning, will we hold the 20-week, or are we going to get kicked back down into it for a little while? And that's why you need to look at that very closely if you have altcoins. Yeah, I mean, it's possible we get a triple peak cycle. I mean, we've talked about the idea of that before. I feel like we should probably wait until we're above this level to talk about the idea of a triple peak cycle. But for now, I think the idea is, well, can we get a double peak where we actually go into the regression band? Because we went into the regression band here, but we never had any weekly closes in it. And the price ultimately peaked at around 64K or whatever, but we could have theoretically gone all the way up to like 92K or 94K and to be at the top of the regression band. We didn't make it there though. Someone says this was growth curves, only retail. That's not true. We've had institutional investors before. I mean, is your argument that institutional money only started buying here? Because it's not true. I mean, I would agree that institutional money is going up, right? The amount of institutional money is going up over here than it was, say, like over here. But we still had institutional money over here. How much is the top band moving each day? I think it's about like $70 a day, I believe. So like, like 3 months from now, it should be about 7K higher. So yeah, I think it's about $70 a day. If you guys do have either Cardano or Avalanche, we do have ITC stake pools, so you can go stake your crypto with us. We have, I'll put a link to it in the comments. You can also find it in the description below. We also did just launch an NFT, and we actually spent a lot of time on it. I know a lot of people are launching NFTs and whatnot, and just sort of creating them out of some algorithmic code or whatever. But we actually spent a few months on this, and we had several artists working on it. So yeah, I mean, it's again, I'll put a link to it in the comments, but I thought it was pretty cool. If you guys want to see it, I'll play it for you, but I will warn you, you should cover or lower the volume on your phone or your computer. called infected. Infected with a crypto bug. All right. Bitcoin's at 45.5. Ethereum's at 31.37. DOT's kind of hanging out right now just below $21. Seems like a lot of coins are wanting to take off. Like, DOT's below 21, Link's below 25. It's like they want to take off. They're probably just kind of biding their time, making sure the coast is clear from Bitcoin. Bitcoin keeps staying above the 20-week. They'll probably take off at some point. So those are the games you play, right? Those are the games you play. Yeah. Yeah, I thought the NFT space was cool. I know not everyone is super into NFTs, and honestly, like the whole art thing has not been my forte. But I thought it was a cool space. And I was like, I want to launch like I want to like launch actual like cool pieces of art, not just like for lack of a better word, bullshit pieces of art, right? So I feel like the NFT space right now is to some degree very irrational. Because but I was like, okay, well, what if we actually make something really, really cool and actually spend time on it? And so, yeah, that's what we did. And we had like 3 artists work on it for a couple months. That's what we got. We will have more, by the way. The first NFT we actually gave to the premium list. It was called What's a Few NFTs Among Friends. I don't know if you guys saw that one. It was this one right here. We gave it away. What's a few NFTs more? I thought it was pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool idea. All right, let's go. What do you guys want to talk about? What is the reserve on it? I think it's 1 ETH, but the cost of it was a lot more than that, and it also comes with a lifetime membership. Okay, so it does come with a lifetime membership, but the cost to produce that NFT was a lot more than that. I can tell you that. But again, I'm more so just doing it to explore the space and see kind of. I think it's a cool thing, sort of like the staking stuff, right? It's interesting to explore the different sectors of crypto and see what all there is out there and to navigate that, because I think NFTs, I feel like we're sort of exploring the NFT world now. I think digital art is sort of like the introduction of the NFT world, but I feel like the NFT world is going to become so much more than just digital art. In terms of the NFT world, I would say we're playing in the sandbox with the actual applications of NFTs. 20 years from now, the NFT market, I feel like, is going to be a lot bigger and look a lot different than it is today. So we have that to look forward to. I mean, hopefully one day you can prove ownership of your house on the blockchain, right? Hopefully you can prove ownership of a lot of different tangible assets in real life on the blockchain. I think that would be ideal. So hopefully we see that. Hopefully we see that happen. And I do think that the digital art movement is sort of like they're the first people to capitalize on how you actually get ownership of your art and whatnot. I think it's a cool idea. We don't talk about it that much on the channel. We've had a couple videos on NFTs, but I really do think it's a cool idea. All right, we're sort of just hanging out here at 45K. So Bitcoin's still above the 20-week. A lot of coins seem to be kind of like they're like on the edge of a breakout, but they're not quite there. Like DOT is sitting right below 21 again. Link's right below 25. So like they're all sitting there on the brink. And I think it's they're cautious because of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's only a few percent above the 20-week. So I think that's my interpretation of what's going on. So if you're wondering why is a certain coin not breaking out, there's probably some people like waiting. Is it going to hold? Is it not? That's what I would assume. Yeah, well, we're gonna launch the Plan B video probably in the morning. So I would say maybe 10 hours from now. And the reason is because Um, my production quality on videos, as you guys always know, is very, very bad. And for some reason, there are two images of me talking on the video. So we're having to edit one of them out, and it's taking a few hours to to export the new video and whatnot. And we also worked on making the sound a little bit better. Actually, I should be clear. When I say we, I don't mean me. I mean Ryan. He actually has his own YouTube channel. Let me go see if I can pull him up. Let's see here. Yeah, so Muse Stake Pool is his YouTube channel. I'll post it in the chat. But yeah, he's working on editing the video so that it isn't a hot pile of visual disaster or something, because like my face is on it twice. And while I do have a twin brother, it's actually me twice, not my twin brother. Scott says, "You want me to buy you a new desk with the 600 million he made the other day?" I would say no, because the 600 million, if you think about it, like the opportunity cost on buying a desk is pretty high. So I would say no. I do have a twin, yeah, fraternal. You want to hear something even cooler? Something even cooler than me having a twin? My wife is a triplet. So I thought that was pretty cool. Can I interview my twin? Probably not. He's not really into crypto, actually, which is crazy. But he's not. Distant Kingdom says his brothers are fraternal twins and he's dating an identical twin triplet. How many kids do I have? I have 3. Can you interview your wife? I actually did interview my wife on Valentine's Day of yeah. Let me um yeah, go watch it. It's called a Bitcoin Valentine live show. We streamed it on February. I'll link it to you guys. I'll put it in the chat if you guys want to go see me interview my wife. And actually, it wasn't really me interviewing her. It was really you guys asking her questions. I just put it in the chat if you guys want to go watch that. Yeah, you see all the questions she was asked. What made me decide to relocate to the East Coast? Well, I'm from the East Coast, so my wife's also from the East Coast. So I feel like we both wanted to come back to the East Coast. What? All right, guys. It's getting late here. Why don't we call it? We've been going for almost an hour. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. Give the video a thumbs up. Or we do have the premium list. You guys can check that out in the description below. I'll post it here. But yeah, I mean, good luck with everything. And in terms of, let's see where Bitcoin goes. Let's see if it holds the 20-week. And if it does, hopefully we'll see some altcoins pop. But I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.